Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. I don't know why I just got giddy all of a sudden. Happy 10/10. It's October 10th, 2023, which in actuality is what? 10/10, 27. Well, the year is a 7, 10/10 is 27, so it's a 9. But the 10/10 portal is most significant by way of the date today, which is an angel number that empowers us to get ready for new beginnings. Ultimately, it's like a double ending, but ultimately, what is an ending but a preparation for a new beginning? The number 1 is about asserting your independence, and the 0 is about the infinites of the universe. And those two together make for a very potent cocktail and a potent partnership, wouldn't you say? So not only is it a 110, but it's a 210. And given we're in Libra season, it's definitely given relationship vibes or partnership vibes, whether it be professionally, platonically, or intimately. And even on a personal level, just being one with yourself. And as I said, with your connection with your spiritual essence, your ethereal essence, by way of the source that you submit to on a supreme level. So happy 10/10 to you. It's an opportunity to clear on the aspect of endings. It's an opportunity to just clear your mind field, clear your energy field, clear your space, maybe physically so, clear some cars, clear a house, a closet, a drawer, clean your house perhaps if you feel like you need to do something physical, to enact the intention. But it can definitely be just taking a few minutes of peace and quiet and allowing your mind to melt into nothingness, as hard as that may be. Trust me, I know. But just allowing yourself to just melt into some mindlessness for the sake of mindfulness, so that you can clear your mind field to prepare for the new beginnings that are most certainly on the horizon. So I'm quite a bit chatty today before the reading because I just feel so filled up. And then today, of course, as it would have it, my tea bag spoke to me in the message, love is the highest of all virtues. Nothing we don't know already, but it sure is nice to be reminded. And it's a great starting point on a day surged such as this by way of 10/10 for you to clear your space, that is clear your energy of anything that's not in alignment with that ideal. If there's anything adverse to the spirit of love, creativity, life, light, it's an opportunity to release that. We're still in full moon energy going strong. Pluto is about to go direct on the 11th tomorrow, so it's going to be back into effect, and we've been doing a lot of psychological dumping and surging and purging with Pluto being retrograde, and now it's powering back up. And then right behind that is the new moon on the 14th and the solar eclipse. So we're really being powered up in a magnificent way. And for some of us, we may not even know what exactly is coming around the bend or coming around the corner, but this is indeed harvest season. So if you at least have your mind fertile for the expectation of the harvest, you most certainly will manifest it, undoubtedly, just by the way of your mindset first and foremost, having a clear mind to do so. And in that regard, one more thing. I'll probably timestamp to the reading if it matters to you, but I just can't not sing this song because it was just on my mind since I woke up this morning. And it's called Joy by Blackstreet, another high vibrational spiritual essence. I feel like love begots joy in some regard, and maybe joy begots love, but I feel like love is the origin of all things. And joy certainly is, something that is highly surged for manifestation. When you do anything in the spirit of joy, there's a certain power that's infused in that action that magnifies your efforts, so to speak. And even beyond the action, just the joy of, say, manifesting by way of meditation or visualization or proclamation or prayer or anything. One of the scriptures actually says something in the regard of God loves a cheerful giver, which, in essence is an expression of joy, being happy to express your energy, whether it be giving or receiving or however you're choosing to invest, especially in regards to that scripture. And I didn't even mean to go here, but it's not just giving of your money. It's about giving of your time, your energy, your attention. Be very mindful, especially right now with all that's going on in the news, the propaganda that we're all being inundated with. It's not to diminish the reality of world affairs, but just be very careful how you invest your emotional self into these events, especially if you have no real iron in the fire by way of someone that that's suffering, someone you have a connection to that has a direct connection to someone suffering or in danger, or you yourself are not even connected to that culture, by way of, the biggest events that are taking place right now. Just be mindful. It's not to say that you have to be, that you don't get to care about the peace in the world, because we do. But remember that prayer is your most potent power. And if you truly have a perspective to champion, do it by way of prayer for the highest good above all. Don't get swept into the emotional propaganda, because that's, as I've spoken about before, another opportunity for that warlock energy to capture the essence of you by way of your emotional and spiritual force and fuel to invest in some other place that really has nothing to do with you, not practically so, not spiritually so, not materially so. You just kind of have to maintain a position, a posture of indifference for things that don't direct you, don't affect you directly, because otherwise you could get swept into something that you just don't mean to be connected to, and it could actually have more of a detriment on your spirit, your life force. Considering all the images that we're seeing of war and the rumors of war and the possibilities of the involvement and our impact of it, whether it be true or not, be clear to consider the source is all that I'm really saying, and cultivate the spirit of love and joy. Know that you can manifest an outcome that is of the highest frequency from incubating that energy from a personal space within your very own life and existence, focusing on the things that you can truly control and make an impact on before you lend your energy elsewhere. As in the same regard, as I wish the United States would do more often. I wish we would incubate and take care of our own more insistently than we try to lend our energy and efforts elsewhere, because we're ultimately, as a nation, spreading ourselves thin, and some things just are not your business, unless you make it your business. And that's on a national, global, universal scale, and on a very personal and intimate scale. Just tend to your own, drink your water, mind your business, as we say. Cultivate the spirit of love by the ways that you can control, you can take control of and maintain control of, with the essence of the universe and that 1010 portal vibration that we're currently in. And allow the spirit of joy to overtake you no matter what you see or what is projected, what is a possibility or propaganda to be potential. You have the power to control your life force holistically with the support of spiritual source. Okay? So with that being said, I just want to sing it because I feel like when these songs come up so heavy, I have to release it. Otherwise, what's it for, right? So Joy by Blackstreet. Can't forget the day that she walked into my life. It was just the kind of thing that was so right on time. After all the love changes, my heart had locked the door, and that girl released her magic and made me love once more. Like the warm rays of the sun, her sweet love keeps shining down on me. Whoa, all at once turned my life around, and with one kiss she set me free. She's giving me joy, joy, joy. That girl, she brings me joy. She's giving me joy, joy, joy. She brings me joy. So that's Joy by Blackstreet, and it's my pleasure to share because that just lifted my vibration to even sing it. And although I'm singing it, of course, the Blackstreet, if you don't know, is a male group, so I'm singing it as a she. You can flip-flop the gender to whomever and whatever applies to your situation, and it may even be an it. It doesn't even have to be a person or a place. But certainly what I'm feeling is that not only is, as I said, is it an invitation to evoke the joys in your spirit now by way of what brings you that feeling, that evokes that emotion. It also, to me, is a message that someone is feeling that way about you as well. And maybe that can bring just as much of a smile to your face as it is to think about someone else that you have that affinity for. So I hope that that's the energy of the message today, because I love it. But it could, as I said, it could be the joy of an exchange with another person. It could be the joy of what's on the horizon based on what you've been manifesting, cultivating, believing for, praying for, proclaiming. It could be the joy of your children being well and healthy and safe. It could be the joy that, thankfully, here as it stands now anyway in the United States, like focus on the present of peace that we get to experience, that we don't fortunately and unfortunately have to deal with covering for war in our homeland. Of course, we have other things to worry about, but at this time, you can still walk out of your house safe and sound for the most part. You can still go about your day as you please. You can still make the choices that you feel are, most important to you for your safety and security. So if nothing else, cultivate that spirit of joy by way of the freedoms that you still get to partake in as a sovereign spirit in this human experience. Because as we know, not everybody is having that same experience. So if there's anything you can receive from the projections that are being presented at this time, is that in real time, that is not your life. That is not your experience. So that's enough to be thankful and joyful as is. Okay, look, we got the 6 of Pentacles, the 7 the 6 to the 7, and then we got the King of Wands. Interesting, 6 to the 7. So this is like community investments or community balance, give and take, a balance between the have and the have-nots. And then the King of Wands, who's a protector, a leader, compassionate, well, more so passionate and ambitious than compassionate. Well, he can be, but for the most part, it's ambition and confidence that leads the King of Wands. But he is a protector, so there has to be some undertone of, well, there doesn't have to be, but often there is some undertone of compassion there by way of what he seeks to protect. So it's the community investments. Okay. So I'm seeing these pentacles as like gifts, resources. And as I always say, like the people are the hottest people. The people are the greatest commodity, the hottest resource, which in essence, you know, a lot of the turmoil and tug of war that's going on, I feel like it's a presentation about physical resources, but in actuality, it's, as I've been saying, a ploy for the control over the spiritual essence of man, which is the ultimate resource, our energy, our attention, our time, our highest vibrational frequency, what we are investing ourselves into. We can be more or less, we can be, what do you call it, like influenced to see things one way or another by the so-called powers that be, diplomats in our society that are acting as, you know, frontmen to relay certain messages, and ultimately they're just getting it from another source and force too, but they're almost acting as middlemen to what we get. You see how he's like giving them crumbs? So it's given, you know, it's given in this moment that we're being breadcrumbed what's real information. So, which is not, you know, is not surprising. What we're seeing by way of the news and what we're seeing in terms of, you know, what's inciting us to act or respond or react is not the full story here. You know, it's only being disseminated to us in crumbs, little snippets and news reels and clips and sound bites, you know, and talking heads that are presenting themselves to be experts. And, you know, we're seeing countries going back and forth, taking sides, picking and choosing their alliances. But ultimately, under the surface of it all, what is the information that's not being disseminated to us as the people is probably more impactful on our own decision making, and basically on this here on how we invest our time, than what is being released intentionally. Because if we had all the information, we probably would disconnect emotionally in more ways than one and take more. That's why I was saying, like, I corrected myself with the King of Wands, saying that he can be compassionate, but he's really incited by passion and by confidence and courage. Like, he's ready to get up and conquer something or defend something. But I feel like that's the energy that's wanting to be incited into us as a people, as a collective, you know, these seeds of fear, perhaps, these seeds of anxiety, again, being incited to be on one side or the other, as is, you know, here with the Six of Pentacles, when we don't even have all the information as to what this is really truly about. Me personally, just speaking specifically about the biggest crisis of the war that just outbroke allegedly, you know, I say that loosely because we don't really know, like I said, what's truly going on. We just know the picture that's being painted. And I didn't even know, you know, and that's perhaps my own ignorance, but I'm like, I had to look at where those, I know Israel, but I didn't even know where the other country was. And I kept searching it as its name, but it wasn't coming up on the map as that because it's a part of the Gaza Strip. And I didn't really know that. So it's like, I have absolutely no connection, even geographically, so intellectually, so to that space and time to be getting wrapped up in any emotional crisis or commitment to one thing or another. It's best to stay neutral and almost indifferent to things that you just don't have the full knowledge and understanding of. Otherwise, like I said in the beginning, you could be incited to get up and go champion some cause, investing your energy into something that ultimately you're going to get very little back from. This is an imbalanced return on an investment by way of the Seven of Pentacles. Now the Six is balanced, in which, there's equal give and take. And if that was truly the case, then we could trust what we see and what we hear and what we know. But we know for sure that it's never what it seems. So I guess this is just kind of doubling down on being mindful, because the King of Wands is like, he's the most powerful king in the deck. And when he wields his force in one direction, 9 times out of 10, he's going to hit his target. He's going to make his mark. He's going to capture his, hit whatever his objective is. He's going to be successful in whatever he puts his focus into. So if you putting your focus into things that are not fully developed and not fully pure and transparent, you could come up short ultimately, is what I'm saying here. Now, I don't know if that's the holistic perspective of the reading, but for sure that makes a lot of sense in what I said already. Like, the King of Wands is ambitious, he's courageous, he's confident, he's an attractive force all on his own. That's too many. That was almost the 10 of Cups. And ultimately, what I just want to say as to why it's important to be careful, even what you pay attention to, what you absorb in your consciousness as truth or reality or whatever, is this because we are in this space of new beginnings and harvesting something big in our interpersonal lives and in our real existence. And as I've spoken about before, sometimes when these big, massive distractions, is what they ultimately are, happen, is to avert your attention from your own garden, your own crop, harvesting your own seeds, and invest in that. It's like you ultimately having a garden of your own, but you leave that every day to go till someone else's field, and make that farmer rich and make him wealthy by way of the energy that you invest and toil and labor that you put in to his bottom line or his prosperity or productivity. And meanwhile, your garden at home is wilting away because you're spending all your time elsewhere, all your attention elsewhere, all your money, your resources, your vitality somewhere else. You can take that in many different ways. It can even be taken by way of the most practical sense of when you think about just working a job that is not harvesting prosperity holistically for you. Like, you're putting much more in than you are taking away or taking home. And we know that's mainly the case when we're talking about societal work exchanges. Once you look at the taxes and things that are taken out of what you worked hard for, it's like, well, damn, you know what I mean? Like, where is mine? You know what I mean? Not to mention, if you're someone that pays hella taxes because of your profession, that's a whole nother story. So we could look at it in any regard. And then she came back out. She popped in and popped out the 9 of Pentacles. That's about independence, which I spoke about with the 10 energy. We don't have any 10s on the board as of yet. That's a 9. And we have the Death card, putting it into something here. Let's see. Do I want to take more on this row? I think I kind of do, even though I did a lot of talking. So we'll see. Let's see what else comes up. So we got the 2 of Cups, which is agreement. And I think, what I think this is really speaking to is that a lot, as I've been saying also, so this is kind of like a rerun in a sense, but maybe it's just a reminder to stay in a certain, stay focused in a certain way. I don't think what is being intended here by way of this newest crisis is going to yield the results that was projected. I don't think people are in the position, because I feel like it's there. Of course, on the surface, you're seeing, even particularly in New York, where there are two sides of the coin, and people are like protesting against each other, and of course, in social media and media in general, there are sides being taken and protests being made in one regard or another. But as I'm saying, it's like more of the projection. And these almost look like the Star of David, right? So that's interesting. Well, it is, more or less. That's that pentacle, that pentagram or whatever. I think it's a 5, isn't it? It gives that vibe. If it's not exactly that structure, you know what I mean. But it's like people are really not as inclined to, what the King of Wands is giving me is that more people are taking a more objective stance in how they're going to wield their energy, like really overlooking like, is this for me to get into? I don't know. Or reserving their ambitions for a later time or for more information to come. I feel like there are only a certain type of people, whether they be those that are actually directly affected, that's one thing, in respect to those on both sides, because there's always 2, maybe even 3 full sides of the story, right? But those that are on the outside looking in, that really have the energy to lend to this force, are a little bit more reserved this time, like maybe perhaps considering their commitment to these proposals as they're being presented. This is a commitment of people that are on the same page. As a derivative from the 6 of Pentacles, it's a balance in both regards. It's 2 people that are in alignment with how they're going to invest their time in themselves and one another, and then subsequently on anything outside of them. It's a contract, it's a commitment. It is representative even of Venus or Libra energy, which we're in the season of, being mindful of the commitments that you are making in spirit and in truth. It is not limited to just signing your name on a dotted line, because you even lending your attention to something is an endorsement in a sense. And so here we are from the 7 to the 9 with the 2. Yeah, people are not willing to, with the 2 of Pentacles, it's like a weighing options, or, managing your energy intentionally and almost like frugally in a sense. And it's maybe perhaps people are looking at ways that they've invested their time and energy into such causes and curiosities before, and are finding it much more prosperous to just stay neutral, as I said, and to stay independent, stay a sovereign being, not being swayed unbothered in a sense, if you can afford to be so. Like I said, everybody can't afford to be so if you're directly impacted, but some of the people that are out in these streets or have a great opinion one way or another are not in the line of fire, and don't even have anyone that they can say personally is in the line of fire. So you can get swept away into something and taken away from your personal harvest yet again. This is the magnification of a well-invested harvest with the 9 of Pentacles. This is someone who's secure, self-sufficient, well-maintained. She's independent. She's not exclusively fixated on material gain, but in a spiritual sense, this is the expression of what she's invested already. You know, she's invested in herself, her own identity, her own truth, her own spiritual wealth. And on that, and on the account of that, action taken is what she's harvested to be independent and sovereign in her own space, whatever that space may be. You know, and this could be masculine or feminine, of course, even though it's obviously a difference here. But it could also be that there's the difference here, especially when we have the Two of Cups energy and the Six of Pentacles energy, which is a clear depiction of some partnership. And I was talking about that from the beginning. This is about putting yourself in a position to be a magnetized match for someone that is on the same page as you. And in the space and time that we're in, partnership is definitely on the menu. Partnership in a practical sense and in a very spiritual sense. And if you're spending too much time elsewhere, again, cultivating other gardens, lending that premium manifestation force that is you, that is divine to you, to some other agenda, you could miss an opportunity, or lower, even worse, lower your vibration for this harvest of union and partnership that is coming in, whether it be from the inside within you or from the outside in. Either way, it could be a distraction to your focus. And that, I think I'm repeating that over and over because that is the greatest threat here. And what we're dealing with right now is being distracted from what you are walking into and what is ultimately walking into you. The song says that the day that she walked into my life. Now imagine if you missed that magical moment to meet that divine partner because you somewhere in the house fixating over being afraid of the impending disasters to come. You know, you're afraid to leave the house. You're sheltering in place because you're afraid of what potential dangers, impending dangers there may be to the society that you're in, that as it stands right now is more or less safe and secure as far as your eyes can see. You know, imagine you miss the opportunity to go head out, do a little shopping, or go have a little fun, or go meet up with friends, or whatever the invitation and the spirit and the truth of the matter may be, because you're too worried about, you're too held up in fear ultimately. And here's the Death card, which is exactly that. Being afraid of your own mortality, being afraid of perhaps even the justified endings of things, because there's that too, right? That we don't know universally so, and from a spiritual perspective, that the things that are taking place globally aren't exactly in alignment. Well, as a spiritualist, I can say that I do know that that's what it's for. But if you're unsure, you could be resistant to the impending endings and changes that are set to take place. 1010 is not just about the date, it's the spirit of this season. We are definitely transitioning in a big way from some old life experiences and structures to something completely new, hopefully revived in a way that we can all appreciate better. If you're willing, if you're open for it. But that's exactly the point. If you're still stuck in your ways, afraid to let go of some things, even on a personal level, by way of this 1010, where I'm saying to you, it's an opportunity to kind of clear your mind space, clear your energetic field, and you're still holding on to worries and anxieties about what hasn't happened yet that you've been expecting, or what you've been anticipating, or what could happen that you're not sure could, be on the horizon. Either way, but living in the present moment and appreciating the power of the now is putting you in a place to miss the opportunity to have a new beginnings, because the Death card is not just about endings, it's also about rebirth, as Scorpio energy is. It's about death and rebirth, and also clearing out that psychic debris that would keep you from successfully making that transition. It could keep you stuck almost in a purgatory space of time where you're just holding on to the old because that's what's comfortable, that's what you know, that's what you can count on, even though you really can't if it's come up for an ending anyway, right? And meanwhile, spirit, supreme source, universe is ushering you into something altogether new that is going to be good for you, that's actually going to be more in alignment for this you that maybe perhaps you haven't even realized energetically has been calling in a change, that has been looking for something of a more independent, something that would exalt more of your independent nature, where you might be more dependent on dependency itself, you know? So be open to the release and for endings to be happy. They don't all have to be, you know, a detriment. As a matter of fact, none of them really are. You know, it's just a matter of perspective. It's just a matter of perspective at this point, you know, how you see it. And that was the Queen of Wands on the top of the deck, but too many cards. All right. And this is, again, looking backwards, perhaps a little PTSD for what has transpired. What else? That was the Hermit card that popped in, popped out. And I'm feeling to say that because that spiritual guidance only comes when you call, really. You have to be open to that support mentally and spiritually before it can come and assist you by way of the Hermit card. That's like spiritual guidance that it happens from within. You know, here's the Emperor card, some point of control and power, taking control over your life force. Let's see here. Maybe perhaps because of looking back at past experiences and definitely by way of how we've been conditioned to almost relinquish our divine authority to external forces because we've been conditioned to feel untrustworthy of ourselves based on the experiences that we can look back upon. That's by design, you know, and even in alignment here with the contracts and commitments that we make and here to being breadcrumbed, we haven't always had all the information about our own potential power, let alone about our surroundings, you know, about the truth of our existence. So to operate on and from the intel of a very limited view with the Nine of Wands here, and on the energy of perhaps even past misinvestments of energy or failures, dare I say, as it's objectified by this and this spirit here in the Nine of Wands, it could, you see how he's looking away from this opportunity to be the most powerful force in the deck, the Emperor card, to take control over his life, over his reality, over his existence. And again, PTSD, this is like a wounded warrior card, putting us in the mindset of a war that, number one, hasn't even happened yet, truly, at least not on our soil holistically, and that we don't even have a connection to, that we don't even have, you know, you know, pretty much like a dog in the fight. You know, you could get roped up into that, looking over here at what's coming, either what has happened or what could happen, because, you know, definitely PTSD gives that vibes. It's based off of past experience, so you have that muscle memory, but you're also so anxious about what history or what experience could repeat itself or come back again, that you're not even looking ahead to the future objectively. You're looking back. You're looking in all the wrong directions, as I said, not being present. As you see, the Emperor more or less is looking forward. Now, sometimes I see him having a bit of a side eye here, which he kind of does and when you get close to the picture. But for the most part, it's like a double down on this taking control, you know. And we've gone from, what's this? That's a the Emperor. This is a 7, 6, 6 with the Emperor card. So that's a 7, a 9, and then a 6. Yeah, that's taking control of your human existence. You know, the power that, oh no, I'm sorry, that's a 4. My bad. Sometimes I'll be mixing up the Roman numerals. That I learned very well. Shout out to my middle school, Coopers Point Professional Development School, Camden, New Jersey. Shout out to you, where my teachers made sure we knew all the basics. So I know some adults that still don't know their Roman numerals or how to calculate them and read them, but I certainly do. So that's a 4 actually. That's not a 6. But yeah, here's this again, anxiety. And you know what I'm also sensing too? Yeah, because I'm also sensing with the Emperor card, what I'm feeling is that this is the disappointment of the so-called powers that be that are looking to project this energy for their own, you know, intents and purposes to maintain power and structure and force over the masses. And there being a disappointment because that era is more or less over, as I've been saying. People are not in the same vibration that they once were to be as agitated by impending danger and fear of of their own immortality or mortality as they were before, to be able to be governed by it, to literally be lorded over in this state of mental and energetic imbalance, because there's no founding, no present structure and grounding. People are taking more control over their lives, their energy, their investments, the time and energy that they lend to anything outside of themselves, or they allow to be invited into their own personal worlds or their kingdoms, as is expressed with the Emperor card. Whatever establishment that they're building for themselves, they are, as a derivative of the King of Wands, more protective of that energy, staying more centered and unbothered in ways that just don't apply, and I don't think that the world forces have really planned for this evolution of the human spirit. They're just continuing to try to run the same old game over and over again. But I feel like they're going to be disappointed because this transition is happening one way or another. It's a universal order at this time, which means that everything must shift. When the universe says shift, everything must change. And that means some things are going to be laid to rest and some new things are going to begin, And this 9 of Swords is a disappointment and anxiety about what the world looks like from these so-called powers that be, in a place that can't be so easily controlled through the masses that were so easily controlled before, that people that can't be breadcrumbed as easily. You can't pull the wool over their eyes as successfully anymore. They're actually able and willing to peek behind that curtain and make decisions for themselves. Yeah, we got the Page of Cups, which is some emotional message. That's a lot, but I'll take it. Well, it's only 4. Oh, and look who it is but the Empress. Bam. I think I want to just move things up a bit so everybody can fit, even though you probably can't see the Empress down there. And it's probably going to mess up my alignment, but that's okay. I think I'll live today. So we got an indirect line as I'm assigning it with the Emperor, which is just doubling down with the 4 of Wands on that balance. That this is this sorry cup of nourishment. That's what I'm giving it right now. That this, to me, is giving powers that be, that are trying to offer these sentiments, this trying to offer it, and it's a very small offering with the Page of Cups to people that have already made an alliance within their own sanctified spirit, if you can get with what I'm saying here. I might be speaking a little too lofty in that regard, but people are already operating in their highest frequency and coming into agreement with others that can align with them. And what does that do but support your perspective? When you're finding synergy with others that think and feel and see like you, that's just a stabilizing force against a mighty force that has been very successful in tainting the vitality and the nourishment, that nourishment in that cup. I'm saying nourishment because that's what water does essentially. But if it's impure, if it's tainted, then it can do more harm than good. And that's what's been happening to us emotionally by way of the propaganda and projections that we incur day to day, is that our emotional nature has been tainted. We've become docile to the system. A fish don't belong in that cup. The fish belongs in the ocean, in the sea back there. But we've been tainted with information, with news, with projections, with possibilities of fear and pretensions that don't have anything to do with us, but have everything to do with us in the grand scheme of things, if you feel what I'm saying. And ultimately we've been drinking it up because we didn't know any better as a child, as the Page of Cups does. We didn't know any better before. We were operating off of past dysfunctions, feeling, in this case, the Nine of Wands, feeling afraid to even resist the societal norms or the system as it is, that we might be further impelled by it or bruised by it in some physical way or energetic way, that we might be overpowered. God forbid those that have something to say in favor one way or the other speak out and speak their sentiments, and then people jump on you for that, So it's like we've been conditioned to stay as little children, stay docile, drink the Kool-Aid that we've been given, and to love it, no less, to feel like there's nothing better than what we've been given to nourish our beings. But in actuality, we know that is not, more people are coming to the reality that is not true, that there is something more, and it comes from a personal source before it comes from an external force to be absorbed and to be digested. There's more to the story. There's more to consider. There's more potential for our own spiritual power to do something within our own right, in our own individual space and independent space, than there is to unify ourselves with some collective force that ultimately is using our own power against us. That fish finna jump out and bite his ass as soon as he go take a drink. And it's like, it's immature sentiments is what the Page of Cups is representing right now. Along with the tainting, along with the perhaps even being empty, because maybe the cup's trying to jump out to go find some water because nothing's in the cup, So being force-fed, empty emotional sentiments, again, just for the evocation, just to evoke our own response. Like he sees the fish in the cup and then he goes, there's a fish in the cup, what do I do? And goes jump in the ocean, perhaps. I don't know, like erratic behavior is what I'm trying to illustrate here. That's what these energies do to us that are projected onto us. They make it almost impossible for us to ground ourselves by what's true to our own nature and true for us, for being swept away with the masses, literally swept into the sea of emotions. Then they make it hard for you to process, let alone to transmute energy on your own cognizance, by way of your own cognizance, for being swept away with the masses and told that if you're not swept away, then something is wrong with you. And then where you're not able to transmute that energy and reinvest it, that's the nourishment for your own garden. Water is the most essential force other than the sunlight, which is the exposure and the information. So we already dim in that regard because we don't have all the intel. And then for your own nourishment to be tainted, for it to be salty water, for a ground that requires, purified uh, water is again a recipe for disaster. And then what happens is that you leave your garden behind because it's not yielding the fruit that you expected it to when you've done all the work, but you don't have anything to show for it. So now you go out and work for somebody else's garden who actually has all the secrets, has all the intel. It's not only siphoning water, not only containing their own purified water, but they're also siphoning yours because you're bringing your energy over to work their fields, and their garden is blooming. Now you got to buy produce from them because yours are all wilted. You know, it's like it's a vicious cycle, and it's being broken now that people are finding their way to their own balance within their own established authorities, taking governance over those that foundation that it's been tried and tested through these rounds of karmic cycles that have been occurring over generations. And now it's time for a new generation to see what truly is in that cup and make a strong decision as to whether they're going to partake or not. And more people are deciding not, which was not accounted for. And that's what this Eight of Wands energy here is like. It's like that evolution, that shift in power with the Eight of Wands, and it's coming from an ethereal force. Again, it's unstoppable because it's universally ordained for people to be awakened from their slumber, to be awakened to the presence of their power and the potential of their life force, to be more personally invested than societally invested, you know. And it's not to say that we don't care what happens outside of ourselves. It's not that level of narcissism or even selfishness that is apathetic to a fault. It's that you realize that you have more to offer and more to cultivate from a personal, intimate level, right from home, literally, which is what the Four of Wands card represents. It's balance, harmony, peace within your home. If you can't cultivate peace and harmony and fairness and justice and stability in your own home life, in your own garden, you can't be of any value to anything outside. Same, that's on a personal level, intimate level, right? Same on a global, well, I'll say at least on a national level. The United States going out trying to fix all the world's problems, you know, poking their nose. And really, it's not that. You know, there's an invested interest in everything that we stick our nose into. We know that, right? Those are the breadcrumbs that they try to feed us. But the fact of the matter is that we go out champion causes for everyone else but our own homeland. But the people that are struggling every day and working, you know, working to survive every day and barely doing so, those that don't have opportunities to survive fairly, those that don't have a roof over their head, adequate food to eat, the shortages in our own country, it just baffles me that we keep sending money out to make more war when we have a deficit of creativity and love within our own homeland, you know, within our, that literally is, you know, more or less in limitation right now, not spiritually so, but in the physical sense, we're in a deficit. So it's like, if maybe perhaps the shifting happens by way of the individual starting to take more ownership of what can be done and changed and shifted in your own space, not to be roped into some national cause or even, by God, an international cause or global situation of sorts that is not going to be empowering to your home base in the long run, but actually might take away from it. You can do more by taking care of home is ultimately what I'm saying. This is the Empress card, who's infinitely creative, who, you know, is, as the Emperor is the most powerful king, she's the most powerful queen. And this is the union of those two dynamics, whether it be actually physically so or just energetically so, to be just as much of a protector and a provider as you are a reproducer and a nurturer, and within your own being, as it is here, knowing that that is your divine right and you're calling to do so from a personal, intimate perspective, even more so than ever before you try to lend and split yourself multiple ways that energy to any force outside of you. I hope that makes sense. And this is the call, and the powers that be don't like this transition because it chips away at their at their workforce. And I don't mean in a literal way, although it does that too, but it chips away from that energy source that they get to tap into when they want to create some optimum outcome for their own agenda. Remember, this is an election year. Well, next year is the election year, but they're already gearing up. So you might as well say this is an election time where they're gearing up to, try to mind fuck you into what choice they think would be best for whomever's agenda is being propped up at the time, which it's all more or less the lesser of the evils that you have to choose from. So these different tactics and propaganda are all a ploy in alignment with that same agenda to sway your most supreme life force in the way that would be most beneficial to whomever you connect with most, or are most manipulated by or distracted by ultimately, because it's much less of an authentic connection than it is just, a manipulation, quite honestly. And I can say that with confidence because our system at this point in time is so corrupt that I don't even think the people that are a part of it realize the level of corruption that they are creating or contributing to. Some people that even think that they're well-meaning at this point are still part of the problem in a great regard. So even that is not, whereas before you may have, at least it seemed to be breadcrumbs, right? You seem to be able to at least align with the best of the candidates that were presented. Now it's like throw the whole system away sometimes, like what are we doing here? What are we doing? Is anyone in charge? Who's in charge here and what are you doing? So, and that's really no disrespect because like I said, it's become such a way of life. And so like, the what do you call it? The, not corruption, but that too, but it's like, it's so, the word is escaping me, but dysfunctional is what it is. It's like, even in that regard, when you think about replaying the same old dysfunctions, even in your actual family and generational existence and experience, it's happening the same on a global scale, that we've been stuck in this way of doing things for so long that nobody is really truly in a pure position to step outside of the dysfunction and do something truly different that's really going to shift the trajectory of our country to something more prosperous for all, because we just been doing it this way. And who's to say this isn't the way to do it? And anybody that does say it is automatically kind of sat down or outcasted, as some tyrant or heresy, or what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not well received when someone wants to speak against the system as it's been established. It's like fear of change ultimately, because there are too many powers at stake that are vulnerable to losing their potency. So everybody's trying to protect their own neck, protect their own platform, protect their best interest, when meanwhile the good of all is what suffers the most. It's the people are the larger majority than the powers that be, and that imbalance as it is here is just time for the universe itself to make everything fair, and that's what's happening. And sometimes, as I said yesterday, sometimes you got to get through the chaos to get to the peace or the creativity, but I believe that that's where we're headed. We're getting there. In the meantime, what it really calls for, though, is for us all to stay focused on what is real for us individually, because you're going to be told and shown and, projected a whole lot of things out there that may or may not have anything to do with you. But what you can control most is what matters most. Justice, my God. Bam, justice. It's all being balanced out. And this is the real justice. This is like the facade of justice. Not really, but sometimes I see it that way. It's like the impression of justice, the appearance of justice, where it looks like all things are balanced and equal, but clearly it is not. As I've spoken about this card today, we get breadcrumbed a lot of information. The haves and the have-nots are at a great disparity, which we know and see every day. Where the Six of Pentacles should be equal give and take, it most certainly is not in the state of affairs that we're in today. But this is like justice above all, for all. This is the authentic justice, the scales of justice being balanced by way of putting all things in order. Where there needs to be a release, an ending to things, so shall it be. And sometimes it doesn't look pretty. It may not even feel great all the time, but there's definitely the implication that it's for the greatest good of all, for all, when the justice card is presented. Let's see what's on the top. Yeah, and this is the Three of Pentacles, which is the conspiring for or against one or another. These are energies coming together for the cause of justice, and some coming together for against it. You know what I mean? And it really creates a line of demarcation, in a sense, as to what side that you're going to be on, but more importantly for yourself. Like, are you going to be in alignment for the greatest good of justice for yourself that ultimately does affect all and impact all? Or are you a force against it? Are you working to create unfairness and injustice and imbalance? And that can happen just by way of your mentality. You can create an imbalance just by focusing on the worst of a situation over the best of it, or certainly by focusing on the past and not the present, or the projection of the future and not what's happening right now. So the Three of Pentacles is definitely about collaboration. To me, it's even like these are like partnerships one to another. This is like a collection of collaborative forces on one accord, even a work effort in some regard, like really putting your hand to the plow for a particular cause. And it's great that it's in connection with justice and the upright in this regard, because it's more or less kind of confirming and affirming what I've said so far, is that we can do more as a collective force by focusing on the justice and the fairness of all than we can to be pushing against each other for some underlining cause. Like, this is representative of there being like a darker, more sinister, perhaps, underlining agenda that more or less in a lot of ways is unbeknownst to us, really and truly, until after it's all said and done. And then we hear decades later, like, oh, that really was about so-and-so, or really was about oil, or really was about territory, or really was about money or resource, whatever. We don't get the full story. Well, that's changing, because I feel like nowadays, there used to be a delay in exposure and in enlightenment and information, but that's not the case anymore, because there's more of an internal fertility for it, than there used to be before, where people were willing to live with a veil, to live within their own mask, and for society to be masked. It was almost like ignorance is bliss type of vibes. But people are not really living on that vibration, not as much and it's shifting every day as it used to be. So, you know, it's this agenda under the surface that's working unbeknownst to us for some ulterior motive. Meanwhile, as I've been saying though, it's going to be trumped by justice in the land, truth in the land, and balance overall. So no matter what the ploy may be, and it is ploying, the plot is plotting, trust me, the powers that be is being. But justice prevails nonetheless. So there's nothing to fear, nothing to worry about, only to focus again on cultivating that ultimate virtue of love, which is in essence creativity. That's what love is. It doesn't even have to be all sappy and emotional and, you know, ooey gooey. It's about putting your energy toward things that are productive and prosperous in the essence of light, not necessarily for the perpetuation of darkness or any type of sinister construction. We know the difference. We know the difference between love, and the adverse of it is ultimately fear. So when we're talking about living in the virtue of love as its highest vibration, that ultimately means to purge from a personal perspective, because it's not going to be done for you, mind you, from a personal perspective, to purge the energies of fear from your being, from your mentality, from your energy, from your mind field, from your spirit, from even your engagement, even people and places and things. If you coming across people that want to talk about the impending dangers of the world affairs, then you might need to forge a separation, a boundary with those energies, because they can ultimately be impactful. If you're in places around the water cooler at work and all they want to talk about is how this world is going to hell in a handbasket, you might want to find a different break time. You know, if you're doing things that are inciting you, i.e. isolating or secluding yourself, or not going to certain things or doing things as you normally would because you're afraid of what's to come, you might want to find an opportunity to shift your perspective as to what you have to live for and not what you're afraid to die of, you know, simply put. Because it's all happening for us, not to us, certainly not against us. Unless you're on the lower end of karma and all that good stuff. And even still with that, if you have breath in your body, it's still happening for you, because justice is for all overall. So it's still an opportunity for you to see a new way of being, a new way of perceiving yourself, your surroundings, your possibilities, and to make the necessary adjustments accordingly. All right. So that's it. That's all I have to say. It wasn't quite lovey-dovey as I was anticipating, but the spirit of joy certainly is a premium resource, you know, and certainly a premium life force. So with that song in its essence, find the joy in life today, in the small ways, in the big ways, in any way that you can find it. Allow that to be the force to fuel, you know, that fuel to light that love source, that love match, or fuse, I should say, to light your love fuse, to get you going in the way of creativity, because we're on the way to a new moon. This is a 10-10, so although we got, you know, some other energy still to play out before we get there, it's still a prime opportunity for you to begin to cultivate the energy of a fresh start, so that when you have the support of the celestials behind you, there's nothing to think about. You can just do out of the being that you've already cultivated, and then undoubtedly have the harvest of your labors holistically. All right, so happy harvesting to you. Happy 10-10. Have an amazing day. Rest and be reassured that all is well in spirit and in truth. It is so, and so it is. And until next time, peace.